Hi, today we're going to take a look at the Hollyland Pyro H wireless transmission system. So, let's see what it can do. Let's start with the Hollyland Pyro H main features. We tested many wireless HDMI transmitters in the past. Here are some of the main official features of the Hollyland system, and we will be testing several of them later in this review. In the box we received from Hollyland, we found both the transmitter and receiver units, a single hot shoe articulated mount, and 5 antennas, 4 plus 1 spare, as well as a USB to USB-A adapter. It would be nice if Hollyland would consider making an optional hard case for these units, and we would love to get top locking adapters like some of their older units came with in the past. Moving over to build and design, the Pyro H is very similar externally to the Mars series that we have tested in the past. It has the same narrow body design with 2 antennas on the top. Unlike other Hollyland units, these are basic plastic ones, and we much prefer the thick stubby ones that came with the Hollyland 4K that we tested last year. On one side of the transmitter you can find an HDMI input and a loop output, while on the receiver there is a single HDMI out port. There is also a DC input, although with our kit there was no DC adapter that you can buy separately. On the other side you can find the transmitter and receiver markings. We would have preferred a much larger color markings. You can also find a screen, a jog dial, an on-off switch, and a USB-C connection. We are not big fans of the screen, which is tiny and hard to read. The dial and the on-off switch both feel a little cheap. Interestingly, the more expensive Pyro S unit that features both HDMI and SDI connections has a completely different design with a much larger color screen, better bottoms, and a nicer antennas, so if these are important to you and you're willing to spend extra, you might want to consider that unit instead. In terms of power, similar to other Hollyland units, you can use either an NPF battery, DC 16 volt like we have mentioned before, or a USB-C on both the transmitter and receiver units. Let's move over to performance, and we will start with the distance. We tested the Pyro H in a line of sight scenario, walking in a straight line close to our studio between 2 roundabouts, in a distance of about 400 meters, with no dropouts in our test until the last few meters. Very impressive. For us, however, the more practical use case is for shorter distances, but when the transmission is done indoors with walls in the way. In this scenario, the transmission did go through reinforced thick concrete walls and 2 doors, one of them for metal, and up to the 2nd floor with no loss in transmission. Again, very impressive. Now let's talk about lag, and if you're going to use a wireless transmission system for any type of time-critical action, such as wireless focus pulling, you will need a system that has minimal lag. While Hollyland mentions the latency of the Pyro H to be 60 milliseconds, this is not close to what we have measured in our test. We tested the unit in both the faster HD mode and got around 356 milliseconds, and in the higher quality smooth mode and got 427 milliseconds. Given that anything above 100 milliseconds or so is considered laggy, we will not recommend this unit for any professional work that requires low latency. Looking at noise, the Pyro H does have a fan for both the transmitter and receiver units. The fan is audible when you turn the units on for a few seconds in low noise environment, but then it becomes practically silent and stays this way, at least in our testing. When it comes to connection speed, the unit turns almost immediately on, and the unit-to-unit connection speed was just under 30 seconds in our test. Looking at image quality, and just like the Hollyland Mars 4K that we have tested in the past, the Pyro H includes 4K support. This means that if you have a 4K monitor and your camera can output 4K via HDMI, you can send 4K image wirelessly. Based on our test and our experience with the previous Hollyland Mars 4K, seeing the difference in quality in a live picture, even on a 24-inch 4K production monitor, is going to be difficult, so this is at most a nice to have feature. Other than that, the image quality is as good as any other wireless system that we have tested in the past. A new feature for the Pyro series is UVC. We tested the UVC or USB Video Device Class functionality by connecting the unit to a USB port on our computer and the USB port on the receiver unit, and it was identified on the PC as a USB video device, and we were able to view the transmission on OBS without any issues. Cool and useful. Before we wrap things up, we wanted to mention the Hollyview app. We looked at the Hollyview app in past reviews, and it is a great piece of software. All you need to do is connect your phone or tablet to the Pyro H Wi-Fi, and you can enjoy wireless transmission to your mobile device along with a large number of useful tools. Just don't forget to make sure that you're on the latest version of the Hollyview app, otherwise the connection might not work properly. Please remember that the range of this connection is limited by the range of your own Wi-Fi network and device. So let's conclude. The Pyro H is a solid successor to the Mars series of transmitters. It is very simple to operate, it works out of the box, and it is basically plug-and-play device with a huge range and the ability to transmit through walls, and it works for hours with no overheating or perceptible fan noise. It also has a great app, multi-receiver option, and a newly added UVC support for streaming. Its main drawback, besides its tiny screen and plastic controls, is its high latency. If you're going to do any focus pulling, look elsewhere. Finally, pricing. And here is yet another attractive point for the Pyro H, which currently sells for around $370 for the kit that we have been testing. So that was our look at the Hollyland Pyro H wireless transmission system. You can check out the full review on lensvid.com. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. See you in the next video.